Alright, well I'm done with the modifications and getting all this put together. I mean, not really big modifications, but for me it's a nicer change. So again, it's still my sustainer down here that I had for my tradesman kit, and then there's a little shelf here that I put on that snugs over top of it. All I did is I cut a little piece of ply to sit in here inside the work center, and then I took some spray adhesive and put some cork on there. That's so that it takes the place of the landing pad that I had previously. Now in here there are already holes countersunk in the bottom, so I just put 2-inch number 8 screws straight through into the ply that's the deck on this, and it's solid. So I really like the way that that fits. And the reason I like this landing pad thing is, and it's just something I got used to, of course, if you rather put some sustainers there because you want to put abrasives, well, that makes perfect sense. In my case, usually I put a lot of, I stock abrasives into my sustainers for the sanders, so I'll just put that on the bench. It's a little different because of the way that I have kind of this sysport bench in the back. But a lot of times when I'm using the tool, you put it down on there. At least when it's the cork, you don't have to worry about it getting anything dinged up. If the tool, like if the jigsaw is still kind of running, and you're not really supposed to put it down when it's still running a little bit, but if it's winding its way down, you can always put it on there, and it's not going to rattle its way off of the bench or anything like that. And especially if you put this on here and this was a plastic surface that was smooth and flush to the top. I mean, if you wheel this thing around, this isn't going to fall off, it's too small. But if you had a TS75 sitting on there, you could see that that would want to skate its way off. So for me, again, when I use the MFT, I tend to always put it back on this kind of landing pad that I call it. So this works well, that it fits across. This is sunken down. Maybe I'll decide later to change it so it's a little bit proud so that it won't sit like this, but I think I'll end up liking it like that. It'll get a little scuffed, but it's a tool, right? So now, the other things now, because I got rid of some of the junk in here, it's been moved around a little bit, and then I realized some of it was really junk. I put like my little tadpole sanding sheets, because it's always handy to have when you're doing things. This little shelf that's up here, I took the sanding block kit and put that up there, because up till now I've always sort of kept it in that little mini sustainer, and I get tired of opening it up, so we'll just lay them all out here. It works out great that there's 4 little loops up here on the top section that you can see, and it turns out that the crevice tool, just by chance, fits perfectly in there. So that'll be great for me there as well, because sometimes I put it here and then I walk into it and it flips across the shop. That's just me. I got my digital calipers up here now that the Mitutoyo isn't sharing the same deck as where I put the tools. I can go ahead and take it out of the little protective box. There's a slot up here that if you see the videos from Festool, that since this really I guess came out of their automotive division, they use this for a longboard. So they have a longboard air sander that fits actually perfectly in that recess. So that would be really nice for that. For me, I've just I got an extra tape measure up here in case I end up needing it, whatever. Now, oh, if you remember, I had that hanger. This is the hanger that I had previously. What I did is I drilled normally it attaches using the same screws that are used for the pivot point of the boom arm. So what I did is I put a drilling jig here and drilled a little hole through, a little bit on an angle so that it fit a little bit nicer for me. And the reason for that is the whole unit plugs in down here, including a little 3-prong power strip. So it makes it nice that now when I plug this in, I normally just take it and then I loop it on there. It just keeps this cord from popping off, and a lot of times when I push the vacuum, just the weight of the cords pulling, they would attach. Again, on the front here, there's a different version of the sander hanger that I showed you back there. That was the version that you could buy previously separately for the boom arm. Now it's done as part of the boom arm kit. But this one here is the one that comes with the Workcenter. So you just take your sanders and hang them on there. You have room for 2. This happens to be the 125. There's this funny looking piece that comes down, and there's no real instructions on what to do, but I noticed that it actually works pretty well for pulling this thing around, and it would be at the perfect height. So I'm going to call it a handle. This tray here pivots around. It's nice for being able to put things like your safety glasses, easy to find, and your tape measure that you always need. There's a set of holes back here that you could use for putting in screwdrivers and such. The one thing I did, now if you take a look at the instructions in the different videos, you'll find that this hanger up here, which actually I didn't explain yet. There's a hanger up here for putting a drill. Like if you had a T-shaped drill, it would easily fit up there. You know, the C12, of course, just picks one of the hooks and dangles there nicely. So since I have a boom arm in the back, there's not a lot of room for extra things back there, and that might be different in the case of the newer models, the CT26 and 36. That I don't know, but at least on this 22, when I have that set up, there really isn't a lot of room back there. This would be crowded. So what I did is I put this one all the way to the top, which is a perfect place for me to have it because I could put some of the other Centrotech bits up here that I'm using. And then this is at the very bottom of where it can go. This has to be, you can see that this is a two-part piece here, right? There's a piece here that slides over top of this to set the variable height. Now I have it topped out because I want it to be a little taller. This has to attach on this top piece because it's the only one that has a T-track that can accept it. So it's at the very, very bottom. Because of that, it turns out that, you know, while this screw clears over there, it turns out that it bumps over there. I just can't get it in a position where the screwdrivers are going to fit. That's just me. If you can put this hanger on the other side, or maybe you don't care about this sander hanger and don't really want to bother with it, well then you're fine. Now you could put this on the inside if you like. That T-track is available on the inside, so you could flip this thing around and put it there, in which case, you know, your sander would be located here. That would eliminate, if you like to put big systainers there and open it up like an abrasives assortment, that would impede you from doing that. In my case, I want to just keep that open for now, and maybe I'll end up changing my mind later and swing it around. It's very easy to swing around. It's a feather key, just like you have on your MFT tables. So that's a good little tour of it. I have a pencil that I keep in here because you always need one of those. And I believe that's about it. Oh, I did want to mention, some people were talking about when it first came out that, you know, it's kind of an expensive piece of pegboard. This is actually a fairly thick gauge steel, so I was very impressed with that. That's part of the reason why it's got so much heft. And I'm not a metal guy, so I can't tell you what gauge that would be, but it does not flex. So now, in my case, I found that these were a little bit on the tight side, so I just put a little screwdriver in there and bent it. I have a screwdriver that's dedicated to that type of purpose, and you know, just loosened it up a little bit. Now they go in pretty snugly, but they do go in without too much fight. So I think I'm gonna like it like this. I really like the height now because, you know, with me standing up, this is perfect height for everything that I'm gonna be doing. So you might be able to pull this off, possibly. You know, this type of same idea. Maybe if you have some of the newer vacuums, perhaps they're taller, especially with the hose garage. They might end up making it tall enough that you don't really care. But otherwise, I think it's a great little tool. Now, I did want to, this is a preview, right? I just got this today and disassembled. Big pile of boxes back there, so I'll get a chance to tinker with it some more and maybe come up with some other ideas, and then I'll post those. But one thing I did want to mention, and this is mostly for Bryce's sake, because I think he's going to really be looking forward to doing this. While you can put a sander on the one side, I found that, you know, you can just do that really easily, and then this one here, well, this is kind of like your own longboard. So I think that that's really going to help Bryce out quite a bit. I'm Paul Marcel. Just wanted to give you a quick overview of the new WCR-1000. Thanks.